Hey everybody, I'm here. I guess I'm 3 minutes late, sorry. So, this is how it works. So, you have to chat in questions, and then it's so funny. I see it hasn't started yet. When does it start? I'm here. Um, so, you have to chat in questions, and then I'll answer them. And like I said, there's usually a delay. So, if it seems like I can't hear you or see your question, I can. I just, um, it takes me time to read it. Okay, so I think I might have started to give instructions before I started the broadcast. So, hi everybody. Uh, Sorry for those people who are watching this recorded because I'm going to repeat myself, but this is how it works. So you chat in questions and I answer them. I'll read the question when I see it, and then I'll hopefully answer them. So just chat in your questions. I told you I made the exam. What? Um, and it is all multiple choice. I know that everybody has asked 500 times. Is it short answer? Is it multiple choice? It's multiple choice. So go ahead and ask your questions, and because that's how a review works, I don't know what to say if you don't ask questions. Let's see. Remember that remember that there are ads, and I apologize. Oh, thank you, Tyler. Just said nice hat. I was wearing my Patriots hat, but maybe I'll change halfway through. All right. So anyway, go ahead and ask questions, and like I said, I'll try to answer them. Nobody has any questions. It's because I'm such a good teacher and you know everything. Yeah. So I assume you can see me because Tyler made a comment about my hat. So I assume that you can see me. So I don't see any questions in here yet. Emily, did it start? Yes, I'm here. There's a delay, like I said, so whoop, okay. Tested? What is the tested definition of homeostasis? That's kind of like asking, what exactly am I going to ask you about homeostasis? And I'm not going to tell you that, Era. So basically, you need to know that homeostasis is how living things maintain balance regardless of the external environment. So something might happen on the outside and of your body, and then your body tries to compensate for that. What are the three parts of cell theory? You took notes on this, people. So this I'm not going to answer questions like that because unless you feel like it wasn't clear, but I know for certain that you took notes several times on the three parts of cell theory. So maybe we could ask your friends to chat in what they know about cell theory because I'm not just going to read over the control group. Okay, how many organelles are there in a cell? Well, there's a lot. I The 10 that you need to know are are on that half sheet of paper. And I don't have my interactive notebook with me, but on that half sheet of paper, and then you had to add 10 with the vacuole. Vacuole was 10. So hang on. Yes, I'm drinking coffee at 6 o'clock. So there are a lot of organelles, some of which you don't need to know. So, but there are 10 that you need to know. And if you're not sure what they are, you need to check that half sheet of paper in your journal. Good way to remember are all the organelles in the cell. Memorization? It's probably not the question answer you wanted. A good way to remember all the organelles. I think a good way to do it is to remember the. I think a good way to do it is to remember the analogy that we did. You're not going to be, remember, it's multiple choice. So you're not going to be asked to list every single organelle and then what the definition is, because it's multiple choice. So a question will be more like, what is, which of the following is the definition, or what is the function of the nucleus? And then it'll have 4 choices. So, but you don't have to memorize like the number of them. Like cells have 65 organelles and they are blah, 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 blah. Like you don't have to do that. You have to remember what they do. And I think the best way to do that is the analogy activity that we did, that hopefully all of you did. Some of you chose not to, but you should have. Okay, what is homeostasis? Okay, I already answered that, but JSB 9523. I always try to remember. I always try to figure out who JSB or like your 3 initials are, but nah, yeah, I got nothing. What is homeostasis? Again, it is your body's attempt to stay stable internally, regardless of what's going on the outside. All right. Is there always a control group? It's a good question. In an experimental experiment, which sounds funny, but in an experiment where you're actually conducting some sort of an experiment, it's so repetitive, there'll have to be a control group because you have to compare it to something else. So, yes, Sahil, there will be a control group. But if you're doing some sort of an experiment, not an experiment, but some sort of making observations about something, like why you would use a bar graph, because you're looking at a group and you're saying, I think I used this in one of my classes, like if we were making a graph of the pants that boys wore to school on a particular day and we were comparing shorts, jeans, and sweatpants. Well, you wouldn't need a control group there because you're just taking data. But if you're actually conducting an experiment, there has to be a control group because you have to have something to compare it to. There's a delay on my voice to the sound, so that's distracting to me, but I'm going to try to ignore it. Okay. Osmosis is diffusion of water through a semi-permeable membrane. Yes, it is. Diffusion of water. Water. I'm not understanding what happens to salt in cells when it goes in a hypotonic solution. Good news, Ashi, because isotonic solutions are not on the midterm. So we're going to talk more about that when we get back from break. But isotonic solutions are not on the midterm, so you don't have to worry about it. Number 3 parts of cell theory. Sonia, I don't know what your question is there. Oh, so it just says number 3 parts of cell theory, and I don't know what that means. Whoop, I have to scroll down. Hang on. All right, cells come from, Sahil. Cells come from pre-existing cells through cell division. Yes, that is one. Can we go over conversions? Okay, yes. Conversions, all right. And if you've asked a question, I will go through and answer all of them. So, okay, conversions. The best way to do conversions, now remember, we're not going to ever do conversions, at least not in science, where we convert from customary to metric or metric to customary. Um, Even though it's good to know that when we're talking about distance, like long distance, distances we use kilometers. A kilometer is less than a mile. I mean, those kinds of things are good to know, but we're not worrying about those in seventh grade science. We're just converting within the metric system. So it would be um, like centimeters to meters, or milliliters to liters, or liters to milliliters. So the best way to do conversions is to remember that stair step. Um, so as soon as you can either visualize it, or as soon as you get your test, you can draw the stair steps, which have 7 steps. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Yeah, I still count to my fingers. 7. So again, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So you just make those stair steps, and then you put kilo, hecto, deca. Hecto, deca we don't use very often. Base, which is meter, liter, gram. And then deci, centi, milli. And then when you are doing your conversion, make sure you always start with the original unit. So if the original unit is milliliters, make sure you put your pencil on the milliliter step. Don't put it on where you want to go, because you're going to get really confused. So just start and then count. If you're going from milli to liter, then you're going to go 1, 2, 3. This is my imaginary stair step, by the way. So that means you'll move that decimal point 3 steps to the left. And if you go down the stairs, you move the decimal point to the right. The only time I think kids get a little tripped up, believe it or not, is when it's a whole number. You have to remember that the decimal's at the end of that number. So just put a decimal there, just for kicks, so that you know where it is. And then start your decimal point movement from there. So I hope that helped with conversions. Okay, so we have another definition of the cell theory. All organisms are made of cells. All cells reproduce to make other cells, and cells are the basic units of life. Very good, good, good. All right. How many questions? Seriously? All right, well, if you must know, how many questions will be on the test? GT is 60, honors has 55, and on level is 50. What is qualitative data? Okay, so the difference between qualitative and quantitative is qualitative, you use your 5 senses, and quantitative is numbers. So remember, quantity, what is the quantity of, like if you're ordering somebody something, if you're ordering something, it'll say, what quantity do you want? That's the number of whatever it is, t-shirts or whatever. So then you will, so just remember that qualitative is the quality, so with your 5 senses, and then quantitative is numbers. 7 characteristics of life. I'm not understanding what sensitivity is. Okay, well, it's actually 8, don't forget, because we have control in the center there, because it's Mrs. C. Gren. Sensitivity is an organism's reaction to its environment. So if something is light sensitive, it'll have some sort of a reaction to light. If it's gravity sensitive, then it'll go against gravity as it's growing or something like that. But sensitivity is an organism's response to its environment. Okay, Nathan would say divide, not reproduce. Okay. Are the 7 life processes the same as the characteristics of life? Yes, they're the same. Same thing. Okay, osmosis is diffusion across a semi-permeable membrane. Yes, it is. Apparently Gwyneth missed it the first time I said that. You probably got an ad. All right. What is it called when an organism reacts to the environment? Sensitivity. It's kind of funny you asked that question. What about conversions? Okay, I answered that just now. Um, what are all of the differences between an observation and an inference? Well, I think everybody did a pretty good job answering this the other day, which is um, an observation is you use your five senses. That's all. You don't apply any sort of preconceived information to that. You just say the street is wet. That's an observation. Uh, an inference would be the street is wet because it rained last night. Well, um, it might be because the sprinklers came on, but you're using um, information that you have because you knew it rained, maybe, that you added to make that observation into an inference. So an inference is adding like an educated guess, background information, but it has to be educated. And we talked about this when we went over inferences. So if you have a ball sitting on a window ledge and there's a big hole in the window, and the observation is there's a hole in that window, the proper inference would be, I would think, the ball smashed a hole through the window. Not the baseball fairy came and tapped the window, made a hole, and then dropped her baseball as she flew away. Like that, that's not a very good inference because it's not based on knowledge. Doesn't make sense. Okay, heterotroph is an organism that eats other organisms. Yes. A heterotroph is something that relies on something else for its food. All right. Woo! All right, let's see. What about that? Hang on, I'm trying to go back to sorry. I'm scrolling back down. Sorry. Okay, here we go. What are double membrane bound organelles? I know we talked about that, but don't worry about double membrane bound organelles. It's just they're membrane bound organelles in a cell. Don't worry about that. Okay. What's the difference between qualitative? Okay, I already answered that. What will the main topic be on the test? Everything that's on the review. There's no main topic. If it's on the review, it's on the test. If it's not on the review, it's not on the test. What is diffusion again? Diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. So, Gwyneth, I don't think first period benefited from my little my spraying of my country chic spray stuff. I was spraying it all over the place. So it's just where molecules, whether they're gas or liquid, they want to spread out until everything's equal. So if you had a beaker of water and you put food coloring in it, originally when you drop it in, it would stay kind of right in the same place. And eventually it would spread out until the whole water was pink because those molecules of dye want to spread out. So that's the difference. Okay, what exactly is covered on the test? It's what's on the review. I'm not. I'm not going to keep answering that. That's what's on the test. If it's on the review, it's on the test. Are all the organelles on the midterm? You'll find out tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you. I think I'll fail. That is a horrible attitude. I don't know who that is, but that's awful because you're not going to fail. If you did your review and you listened to the teacher and you did your work in class, and you're not going to fail. You're going to do fine, I promise. Okay, let's see. Can you tell me all we have to study for the midterm? You've got to be kidding me. I'm not going to answer that. Wow. Oh, I like Parker's answer. I would take the safe route and just assume they all will, meaning everything will be on there. Good answer, Parker. All right. I'm looking for questions. Can you tell me the definition of osmosis? I've said that a few times. Diffusion, I just said that. Osmosis is different from diffusion. Osmosis is diffusion. It's the diffusion of water across the semi-permeable membrane. So if you want to do what Sahil does with this like big picture or small picture, you could say all osmosis is diffusion, but not all diffusion is osmosis. So osmosis is the diffusion of water across a semi-permeable membrane, and diffusion is the movement of molecules. Could be water, but then it would be called osmosis. If it's anything else, if it's anything else, it's called diffusion. Okay, believe in yourself. I like that, Mernal. That was a good answer. How do you memorize the difference between hyper, hypo without mixing them up for isotonic solutions? We're not doing isotonic solutions, so don't worry about that. Do we need to know the order of Mrs. Seagren? No, it's not an order. It's not like one has to happen before the other. It's just a mnemonic to help you remember what the 7 or 8 life processes are, but there's absolutely no order. Okay, types of solutions. That's not on the midterm, so don't worry about it. Okay, what do you think we need to study the most? What's the hardest? Everything. Study everything. Okay, I'm reading all the same questions. Okay, is the C or control in Mrs. Seagren almost the same thing as homeostasis? It is homeostasis. C is homeostasis. Let's see. No. I have to scroll back down. What is the difference between an inference and a hypothesis? Well, a hypothesis starts with a question. When you're making a hypothesis, you have a problem first. So I guess you're starting with a problem. And then you ask a question about the problem, and then you talk about a hypothesis. So I guess the most obvious difference is that a hypothesis is always in always in the format of if-then. An inference is just an observation. But a hypothesis starts with a problem, then a question, and an inference doesn't. Inference just starts with an observation, so of a situation. All right, is there a list of all that is on the midterm? Seriously? Yeah, Ankit, it's called your review. Is there a list of all that's on the midterm? If you lost your review, you could always go to the folder on Schoology and download another one, which you need to complete before your test because it's a completion grade. Is there a list? Holy moly. Okay, a good way to tell the difference between a heterotroph and an autotroph. Well, I think a good way is auto means it happens automatically, and plants automatically make their own food. So, and plants are autotrophs. That's how I always remembered it. So, hetero means different. So, heterotrophs eat different things. Autotrophs make their food automatically. That's what I got for that. Okay, what is the purpose of a control group? That's a good question. A control group, the purpose of a control group is so that you have something to compare it to. When you're doing an experiment, you have something to compare your experimental group to. Because say you are talking about the old standby that I talk about all the time when you're adding a special plant food to a plant. And you say, well, if I add this special plant food, well, that wouldn't be a hypothesis because it's a pronoun, but I'm just saying if the problem was you want to find out if this plant food works, then you have to have something to compare it to. Let's say that plant that grew 6 inches in 6 weeks. And you say, great, but is that better than it would have been if I didn't give it the food? And there's no way to know that unless you have a control group, something that didn't get the special treatment, which is the definition of control group, and you have something to compare it to. So that's a good question. That's the purpose of a control group, and it's really important because the only way to answer your question is to be able to compare it to something else. An inference is an assumption. That's a great definition of an inference. It's an assumption. I like that. All right. Lots of questions about the test. Okay, autotrophs get most. Okay. I'm reading your questions. There, okay. No, Preeti, hypo and hypertonic solutions are not on the test. Not on the test. Do you have a specific way of memorizing the difference between sorry, diffusion and osmosis? Okay. So that thing in my room, and if anybody is on here that I don't have in class, I have this, it's called an aroma diffuser, and it's like a little plastic circle pot thing. You fill it with water, and you put this like special oil in it, and then you turn it on, and this mist comes out of it. It's called an aroma diffuser because it's diffusing the water molecules around the, well, nope. The scented oil molecules, sorry, I don't want you to get confused, around the room. So an aroma diffuser just diffuses that scent around the room. So that's all I got on that. Again, diffusion, think of an aroma diffuser. Okay, autotrophs make their own food and heterotrophs depend on organisms for food, right? Right. If a beaker's purpose is if a graduated cylinder can also be used to measure liquid. Okay, I don't understand the question, but just for clarification, what is a beaker's purpose? Sorry, I misread your question. A beaker would be used to measure large quantities of liquid. So we don't have 500 milliliter graduated cylinders. So if you needed 500 milliliters of water, you couldn't measure that in a graduated cylinder. If you want to mix something, you would do it in a graduated cylinder. But if you wanted a precise measurement, you would have to use a graduated cylinder. So now what if you needed a precise measurement like 553 milliliters of water? Well, you would measure 550 of them, or even 500 of them in a beaker, and then 53 of them in a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. So you could get that really precise down to 3. I don't know about you, but I can't use a 100 or 1,000 milliliter beaker to measure 553 milliliters with very good accuracy. That wouldn't work very well. So graduated cylinder is much more precise. Okay, let's go back down. I just hit update. Now I need to scroll back down. Okay, hang on. Okay, autotrophs get most of their energy from the sun, while heterotrophs don't. That's true. But in remembering it automatically is a good way to do it. Okay. Sorry, I just have to read things that aren't repetitive. What's the difference between characteristics of living thing and 7 life processes? Nothing. Same thing. What is the most difficult thing on the test and why? How do I deal with stress? It is hard when this is your first cumulative exam or first set of cumulative exams, and I understand that it's nerve-wracking for 7th graders. My suggestion is to go into the test feeling prepared. If you go into that test knowing that you did the review, that you asked all the questions that you could ask that you were unsure of, and that you studied. Remember, I think a really great way to prioritize what you study, because sometimes if you have a lot to study, you can't study everything. So I know I mentioned this to all my classes, but if you haven't done this, I really suggest you stop lighting your reviews, which is red, yellow, and green. You put red next to, well, let's start with green. Green next to those questions you don't have to study, that you totally get it. I don't even need to look at this, and I'll know it. Yellow, meh, maybe I should look it over. Red, I don't think this was taught this semester. And then you start by studying red, and then you go to yellow, and if you have time, you go to green. But if you go into your test feeling prepared, like I did the best I could, then you'll be fine. But if you go in unprepared, freaking out because you didn't study, that's going to create stress. Or it should create stress because that means you didn't do what you needed to do. So, my best advice is to go into the test feeling prepared. Will questions about transport proteins be on the test? Yes. That's passive and active transport. Active transport is transport proteins and engulfing. And they are used for those really big molecules that can't fit by themselves without a little shove. That's when transport proteins would come in. Also, when remember, the molecules will pass without will cross that membrane without energy if it's achieving equilibrium. But if for some reason there are more molecules on one side of whatever that is than there is on the other, but still it's wanting to go in, and sometimes that's necessary, then, oh, the back door's open, sorry. Ow, that's a bug, sorry. Then energy will be required, or if those molecules are too big. And then engulfing is how amoebas, like a single-celled organism, is how they eat. Engulfing, so it's like wraps around it and eats it. Do we need to know hyper and hypotonic? Nope, solutions are not on the test. Okay, that was funny. Sorry. Does anyone know where the first cell came from in cell theory? Okay, Dylan, well, you're getting a little philosophical. Because remember I said we're not getting into that conversation, whether it was God or Big Bang or what. Nobody knows where that first cell came from. And that's kind of a philosophical thing more than anything. Okay. Let's see. I am just scrolling down your questions. Okay, okay, so you guys have to stop making comments to each other because it's making me take time to read it. So let's see. All right, so now I have to scroll up. So guys, just comment to me, not to each other, okay? Because I have to read all of them, and I'm reading these really weird comments, and I don't have time to do that. Okay, in Mrs. C. Gren, do we need to include control in C? Yes, you do. And C, and that's homeostasis. Can an observation be both qualitative and quantitative at the same time? Yes, if you say there are 6 green bugs, then yeah, that is both. Let's see. Can we bring stress balls or snacks? You can bring a stress ball, but not a snack, because it's not like STAR. It is not nearly as long, and I don't want you guys eating during the exam. So it is not necessary. It is not nearly as long as STAR. When's the review due? Review is due the day of the exam. Mince are fine too. Let's see. I'm reading, sorry, but it takes a while because you guys are asking all kinds of questions. Mrs. Walsh has a nice house. Thank you. Oh, let's see. Oh, Okay. Ads. Do you like my nickname? Yes, Princess Sarah. It is lovely. Uh, okay. So I'm caught up. No breakfast feasts, Princess Sarah. You better eat before we get started on that test. But definitely, guys, eat a. You guys are getting so worked up about like the test and bringing stress balls and snacks, and it's just like a really long regular test. I mean, we haven't taken a lot of um, long tests in science because we do so many things. The whole idea behind an exam is supposed to be to see how much you know. And if we need to review again or go over something that it's uncertain. But a midterm, you have to get used to taking midterms because that's what happens in high school and that happens a lot in college. Um, but in science, we can do labs and different activities that um, where teachers can still get a feel for how much you know. But one of the reasons why we do exams like this, other than we're supposed to, we have to, is because you've got to practice learning how to take tests. So if you don't know, for example, the answer right away, and remember, even if it's the first question you think is the answer, read all the rest of the answer choices. Um, don't say, oh, it's A, and just answer A. Definitely read the answer choices because there might be a nuance between A and D, and the answer was D, and you got kind of tricked. So, but you just take out the ones that you know aren't correct, and then you might be down to two answers as possibility instead of four. So good test taking strategies are always important. But you guys are getting really worked up about this. It says the test is 90 minutes, right? No, the amount of time you have to take the test is 90 minutes, but you're not going to need 90 minutes for this test. Um, it is multiple choice. And I assure you that I, I don't put trick questions on the test. Like I told you, I made the test. So, along with Coach Bauer and Miss Riley and Miss McConnell, I didn't just sit in a room and like decide, like science god, what's going to be on the test. I mean, we decided together what we were going to cover, but um, everything's on the review. So if you did the review, you're gonna do great on the test. So you guys you've got to calm down about it. Um, Everybody's asking about what you should eat. Um, from a science perspective, eat protein because sugar is just not a good idea. And I'm not trying to, I love sugar, don't get me wrong. I would have a chocolate chip cookie for breakfast every day of the week if I could. So, but um, but sugar has a very short energy burst. Same with carbohydrates. So if you have a big muffin, for example, that sounds great, but it's carbohydrates, and the carbohydrates breaks down to sugar. So it'll have the same effect as sugar. You feel great for a little while, and then you'll crash. That's why I always tell my students I can tell the kids that have like really like a carb heavy lunch at like sixth and seventh period because they crash. They're exhausted, and that's because you don't have protein in your body to maintain that energy level. Um, I know you know that I've all been on that like carb sugar fast, which was disgusting for a little while because I had to do those shakes. But I'm telling you, the energy level that I had was huge compared to just eating carbs and things like that. It was a big difference. So guys, you just gotta relax. You really 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 do. You do the review, you'll be awesome. Types of active and passive transport. Well, there aren't types of passive transport. There's just passive transport, which is no energy, and then active is transport proteins and engulfing. Those are the only two. Like I said, you guys have got to stop commenting to each other, okay? because it's making me have to read your comments and it's slowing it down. Do we need to know how transport proteins and engulfing works? No, you just need to know what the difference is. So transport protein, you don't have to know all the fancy biological terms that go along with it. You just need to know that if energy is required to move a molecule across a membrane, that's active transport. And then there's two types of active transport. One is transport proteins, and the other is engulfing. But how it works, where the proteins connect with in the bilipid layer, no, you don't have to do that. Okay, passive transport is osmosis, active glucose trying to pass through the membrane. Yes, that's true, but it's not just glucose, it's any large molecule. Okay, so don't assume. I used glucose as an example because we were doing it in cellular respiration photosynthesis, but it's not the only example. This test is a form of active transport. You need energy to pass. Parker, that was very clever. I like that a lot. All right. What do we do after the test? You sit quietly. All right, let's see. Reading. How about instead of eating, chewing gum while doing the test? You can, yeah, you can. Whoa. Sorry, that's my dog. I don't know if you can see her. Luna, where are you? Can you say hi? Oh, hi, honey. That's the dog that broke my knee. All right. There we go. See, now if we could have a dog during the test, then that would be awesome. All right, you. Okay. Oh. See, and she always what is that? I don't want to pet. Thank you. I want to pet your face. Good girl. Okay. Sorry. All right. Stop. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Okay. Just a minute. Sorry. I got to give this dog some love or she's not going to leave me alone. All right. Now, go lay down. Move. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. Ew. Yes, Gwyneth, eat eggs, but not in class. Yes, you can chew gum during the test, but you have to spit it out before you leave my room, okay? To get carbs, eat spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. No carbs. Protein, people, protein. Can you read who asked the question so we can scroll to there? No. Simple versus facilitated diffusion. No, Neil, I don't know where you got those terms. You were, I don't know if it was one of those videos but just diffusion. It's just diffusion, okay? Yes, my dog is cute. Yes, water is allowed. You can always have water. Let's see. Okay. So I'm caught up on the questions. Yes, my dog, she's very cute, which is a good thing because she's a pain. Huh. Where's my other dog? Gracie! I'm just going to call my other dog since nobody's scrolling in any questions. Grace, come here. Hi. You want to say hi to my friends? Come here. Gracie, come here. There. Okay. That's Gracie right here. She's really cute. You can hear their tips. Okay. All right, girls. Okay. All right. You're a bully. There they are. All right, Luna. There we go. All right. That was a break. Brain break. Okay. Good girl. Go lay down. Okay. Ta-da. Oh. Sorry, Luna. I just squished her head between Ow, between my knee and the table. Okay. All right. Ow, ow. All right. Yes, you can just read after the test. Just bring something quiet to do. Um, some people, some people are fast test takers, which I don't recommend, by the way, because uh, take time. Oh, she keeps pinning my leg. Take your time on the test. Use all the time that you have, um, because you have it, right? I mean, review your test. You don't have to, overanalyze it. If you think you're done, then you're done. Let's see. We don't have to remember the equation of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Um, well, it depends. If you are in GT or honors, yes, you do. And if you are in on level, then no, you don't. So it depends. I still don't know who. Wait. Ow, ow. JSB 9523 is. I'm thinking. I don't know who that is. So if you are an on level, then no, you don't. But if you're in GT, then you do. Now they're wrestling. So yes, but you absolutely have to know the equation if you are in GT or honors. I'm trying to think of what else to tell you. Not that I'm glad that nobody has questions, but that makes me feel confident about about sorry, about how much you've studied. Sorry, I was reading your things. Good decorations. Thank you, Emily. I'm not really doing that much because we're leaving on Christmas Day for Connecticut. So, and none of my kids want to help me decorate. I don't want to do it by myself. Um, okay, I don't know which side yields ATP. Okay, so ATP is energy for animals. Energy for animals. So, and it creates, it's part of the process that creates energy for animals, which is cellular respiration. So, the product side is the ATP because ATP is a product of cellular respiration. So remember, reactants are what does the equation start with, and products are what does it make. And how I always remembered that is that in a multiplication problem, products were the answers. That's the other time I heard the word product in like a science, math sort of context. So remember it. You should remember it that way. And then ATP is a product of cellular respiration, so it'll be on the right side. So remember, photosynthesis and cellular respiration are opposite equations. They are not. Some of you answered this incorrectly on the quiz, which was that they have the same products and reactants. No, they don't. They have opposite, right? So the products for cellular respiration are actually the reactants for photosynthesis, except ATP. So remember, photosynthesis is carbon dioxide plus water, yields with a sun over it, glucose and oxygen. And then cellular respiration is glucose plus oxygen, yields, no sun, because it doesn't require sun, carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. And the carbon dioxide gets breathed out. The water gets reabsorbed in our body, and ATP is what we use for energy. And after break, we'll talk about organic molecules, which is the fancy word for, or the fancy term for how all of the stuff we eat gets broken down. But that'll help you with the understanding how everything becomes glucose. All right. Is osmosis through the transport protein or the bilipid layer? Okay. Osmosis is passive transport. So osmosis does not require a transport protein. So neither. Um, what's wrong with being confident? Oh my, there's nothing wrong with being confident. I'm not sure if I said that. If I did, I didn't mean that. I meant um, overly confident. So, I mean, I don't even remember saying that. You should be confident. You should always be confident. Um, but especially if you studied. If you didn't study, I know maybe you wouldn't feel confident, but there's nothing wrong with being confident. If I said that, then I didn't mean to. We aren't allowed to listen to music after the test, are we? Um, I wouldn't have a problem with it, except I think if you were listening to music and your neighbor was taking the test, they might be able to hear it. That's my only concern. So if you play it really low, then I don't have a problem with you listening to music at all. Sorry. On the review, do we have to answer both questions asking about care? No. Sorry. I get halfway through the question and then I stop reading it, and I shouldn't because I know you can't see it. On the review, do we have to answer both questions about asking the characteristics of life? No. Just draw an arrow, cross it out. It was repetitive. Let's see. Do we have to draw the sun? You're never going to have to draw the sun because it's a multiple choice question. Okay, so don't worry about it. Number 2, pencil. Bring a pencil, but we're doing the zip grade so that you can, 2 reasons. More about me, because it won't take me nearly as long to correct the tests. And you'll find out your grade really fast. But it doesn't have to be a number 2 test. No, number 2 pencil. Can we study after the test? Absolutely. You have to do some sort of schoolwork or read or put your head down. Doesn't matter to me, but you can't talk. What does the sun over the arrow in photosynthesis equation mean? It means that it is activated by sunlight. It can't happen without sunlight. So it is a catalyst. If you'll remember, I talked about a catalyst meaning something that helps something happen. And that's what the sun is for photosynthesis. Okay, I have a question about Ustream. Can you see us? Nope, I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. I can't see you. Let's see. Yes, because you're supposed to be able to see me, but I can't see you. Let's see. Can we write in pen? No pen, because if you make a mistake, you can't erase it. You'll make a mess of the zip grade paper, and then you're going to have to do it all over again. So absolutely no pen. Is photosynthesis yield sun or light? It is light energy, I guess you could say, because if you don't have sunlight, you could use like a grow lamp, like some sort of a light bulb, like a UV light bulb. So I guess technically it's light energy, but it would be light energy from the sun. Is there anything we need to know that isn't on the review? We actually, when we were talking about the exam, I pointed out that osmotic solutions was left off the review, so we didn't put it on the test. We wanted to, but for GT and honors, but we didn't put it on the review, so we didn't put it on the test because that's not fair. Because I promise you when I tell you we don't do things just to trick you, or it's not our thing. We just don't do that. Can we go over cell cycle? No, because we haven't covered it yet. So no, I'm not doing that. What will we be doing in class? The days we aren't taking the review or working on the review. You'll be studying for other classes. It's your little study hall. Um, so you can read or you can work on studying for other classes. But Friday we're doing a fun activity. Ow, sorry. Friday we're doing a fun activity for uh, last day of school, before the break. But other than that, you can, it's like a study hall. Let's see. It said, like, can you bring a pillow? This isn't STAR, people. Like, when you're done with the test, the class is going to be almost over. So don't, you guys are thinking of it as like being trapped in a room for 4 hours and staring at each other with all these rules about getting up. Just relax, okay? Really, just relax. I'm a good teacher. You're good students. You're gonna do great. Oh, what are we doing on Friday? I'm not telling you because it's a surprise. But your name can't be on the no missing work board. No. Let's try that again. Your name can't be on the missing work board. Because if it is, you can't participate in the fun activity. Because you need to be doing the stuff that you owe me. Don't forget that, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that the 3 weeks is over and progress report grades are due tomorrow. So don't forget that you need to have all your work in, because if you don't, then you can have zeros, and I really hate that because I feel like I feel better when you guys are prepared. I want to prepare you. So, Neil, did you just say you won't be here for the final or midterm? If that's the case, you have to make arrangements with me to take it. All right. So, yes, it is 7 o'clock. Where can we find the exam schedule? It was emailed to you, but I will send out, I will I will send an email tonight with that in it, okay, so that you have it. It was emailed to you, but I can send you a copy if you want. Chelsea, keep the chatter to the review, okay? So I will wait about 2 more minutes. If there's any last minute questions, you can always email me. I don't have tutoring before and after school next week because GT first period has their test tomorrow. So unless it's for work that's missing, I'm not doing any tutoring sessions for the midterm. You can always ask me questions though. I mean, that's a given. So let's see. Just be prepared. Go into the test knowing that you're prepared and you're going to do really well. Bring a pencil, bring something to do. And, oh yeah, thank you, Samantha. So instead of me sending out that email, there's a schedule on the school website. That's true. It's right there on that front page. Oh, Neil won't be here on Friday. Well, I can't do it before Friday because everybody's got, like, I have 6th and 7th period that have their midterms that day, so I can't. If we're not taking the exam tomorrow, we'll be able to print our fall semester exam menu. Yeah, you mean during class? Yes. Well, Yes, because we're studying. So yes, but thank you, Ella, for bringing that up. Is that everybody's the semester exam menu project is due tomorrow. You signed a paper that said you knew that, um, and it is due tomorrow during your class. If you have me third period, don't hand it to me fourth period. If you have me first period, don't give it to me second period. Um, Gwyneth, cell theory. Look in your notes, but I'll say it fast. All cells are made from other cells, so they divide. They don't just appear. Cell is the smallest living unit of everything, or all living organisms, and all organisms are made of one or more cells. So that is that. Um, I know you're all going to do great. Make sure that you ask me questions if you have them tomorrow, or um, email me, but just do the review, come in confident, and I know that you're all going to do great. So I love you all and study hard, get a good night's sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.